joined by Ranjana Kumari, who's Director CSR India, and Khushbu Jain, who's a Supreme Court lawyer on the broadcast. Many thanks for joining us here on Mirror Now. I'd like to first go across to Khushbu Jain. Ma'am, you know, it's been a long time that these instances, these cases are being reported. What do we need, and how can we strengthen the legislation so that, you know, we can prevent this in the future?
Very valid question, Astha. So to start with, see, if I just talk about legislation, yes, crimes such as sexual harassment in public spaces is often neglected. There are very few law or policy in place to prevent and address this specific aspect. So I think the need of the hour is to develop and also to effectively implement. I'm talking about both the things. We need law, we need to strengthen law, but we also need the aspect of implementing a comprehensive law and policy to prevent and to respond to the sexual violence in the public space. We do have very strict law when it comes to rape, when it comes to other heinous crimes, but we tend to ignore when it comes to molesting, when it comes to sexual harassment, when it comes to somebody passing lewd comments, or even if I talk about stalking, and the aspect comes as to how do we enforce it. So I would say when you talk about legislation, justice, and support to the victim, the legal provisions which support for victims and are crucial considerations with regard to looking into public spaces specifically. Now, there are three major problems in this area if we talk about, and we can see that what are the things which can address it. The three major problems that I see today is the vague definition of sexual harassment, and at the same time, minimal penalties for the perpetrators. The second issue that we see is that most of the perpetrators are not apprehended and punished. They just go scot-free, or the procedure is very tight, or the evidence is very difficult, so they are not apprehended, and hence they feel that they can commit the crime again. And others also feel that these kind of crimes can be committed because there are no punishments, or even if there are punishments, nothing happens. The third issue that comes, inadequate support for the victim. So today also we do talk about having police constables in the police stations who will deal with such issues. But we do see today also that these issues are not dealt the way it has to be dealt. And if I may specifically talk about policing, because that's the area one has to, despite law, if you don't have proper enforcement, we will still stand at the same place where we stand today. So with regard to policing, I will say that there is lack of visible police presence, around, especially when we talk about women police. There are aspects where 30% reservation is there in Maharashtra for women constable and so on and so forth in different states. But there is lack of visible police presence and lack of women police presence in the city. Absence of trust in the police. The other aspect is there are very few women constables and officers on road. We do find few in the police stations, but not on the streets. Then I think ma'am would agree with me, the co-panelist here, right. The patriarchal attitude and unwillingness to take sexual
ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you there. We have some breaking news coming in. Khushbu Jain is with us on the broadcast. She's a Supreme Court lawyer, and we were earlier speaking about the Aurangabad horror, where a minor was in fact allegedly molested by an auto driver, and she had to in fact leave the auto and find an escape. And she was, as a result of this, she was hospitalized and has been in hospital for the past 5 days. And we have Khushbu Jain, who is back with us in the broadcast. Ma'am, we were discussing about how laws need to strengthen and what needs to be done as far as the laws are concerned to make sure that, these instances are not repeated in the future.
See, we need to make sexual harassment in public places, which is neglected often, more stronger laws are needed when it comes to these kind of laws, when it comes to stalking, when it comes to harassment, when it comes to obscenity and things around that. We do have laws, but the problem comes is the vagueness in the definition of sexual harassment, and also the minimum penalty for the perpetrators or for the offender who's doing it. And the second aspect that comes, which has to be looked into, is that most of the perpetrators feel that they will not be apprehended or they will not be punished, or nothing will happen except, one or two instances where they will be like, don't do this, or things around that, because these kind of crimes are yet not being taken as seriously as other crimes in the Indian Penal Code. So I think that mindset among people that in these kind of crimes nothing happens also creates a scenario where where women are with the fear, and with the men feel that this can be done away with. You do it and you can be done away with. There would not be any punishments or any liabilities. Now, third comes is even when such kind of punishments go through, the crime is the penalty such small that you somehow get out of it. There are a lot of lacunas. Evidence is another issue, that what kind of evidence come in play. A lot of people get free because of that vagueness in the definition. So I would say that all these things have to be looked into. It's high time that we have to make changes in the legislation looking into these scenarios, because it's almost 50% of the population you're talking about, which is not feeling safe by going out. When you have to take instances of whether to go out, or you ask women that she has to take care of society, of her own things when she goes out, what time to go, where to go, which places she should go, what routes to take. I think that's not something which women should think when we talk about a country like India, or when we talk about present scenario where you have laws in place, where you have government in place. I think today is a high time that government should think that what kind of actions they should take to make place secure, that women are not fearing. If I talk about today's the incident which we're talking about, I think it was not just a crime that can be committed against her, but she had fear that the crime would be committed, the fear that if crime would be committed, what will happen with that violence, fear that people are fearful of going to the police station. I'm being very, very candid about it, that despite whatever laws we have today, policing is not as it should be. Implementation of those laws are not as it should be. So I think that's another area which earlier also I was talking about, that there is lack of sensitivity towards this specific area of women. Very patriarchal attitude of the police personnel, unwillingness to take sexual harassment seriously. They would say, why did you go there? Why did you wear this? We do hear news today also that she was wearing provocative dresses. I think that's not something you should object to. I mean, we have come to a state where if men are not fearing of getting out at any hour, women should also not fear. I'm not talking about safety or creating things, but I think it's a mindset that has to change. It's the fear that has to change, not action are taken after incident has happened. Apart from this, I would say that...
Right, ma'am, also, of course, there is a mindset of fear, and to also talk about a little about the process. People increasingly feel more harassed with the process. Even after, say, the crime is committed, just the whole process, the trial takes so long. If you could talk about that a bit.
So, okay, immediately the one thing that can be done, helpline numbers are there. You have toll free, you have numbers which are there, hotline numbers. Just call even 100 or 130 or whatever the number in your city, 100 number works. After that is done, it's compulsory for police station to report an FIR, to register an FIR against you. The option is with you, whether you want to just continue with the complaint and get out. That's with the victim, not with the police people to tell you whether we can register an FIR or not. So I think it's compulsory that you get your FIR registered. You don't need any lawyer for that. Once you register an FIR, at least in your complaint, you write things very categorically, the place of the incident, what exactly happened, and what are the things which have transpired, if verbatim possible. Now, post that comes that they would call and they would go for the entire process of investigation. Charge sheet would be filed. Once the charge sheet is filed, is where they will file whether the crime has been committed by the person, the accused, the alleged accused, or whether crime is not there. Either it would be a C summary. Once the charge sheet is filed, is where the trial will start in the court. Once the trial starts, all the people who have been party to be it witness, your statement, there would be examination, cross-examination, and final hearing, and there where the judgment comes.
Right, right, ma'am. Many thanks for joining us here on the broadcast. And